Hello, friends and believers in marriage restoration and reconciliation. Today, I'd like to talk on the issue of no contact. Among standing communities, you will hear this touted over and over. Do not contact him. Leave him be for a season. Sometimes you're advised to leave him be for 3 months, sometimes upwards of 6 months, sometimes a whole year, for as long as this and that, and you hear that quite a bit. And during my stand, initially I would contact him. Perhaps sometimes he would even be the one to make the contact himself. Maybe he's contacting the children, trying to speak with the children, asking them questions that he's supposed to be asking me. And then, of course, they don't know the answer. And, he begins to cause some certain brouhaha. And I pick up the phone and I call him and say, hey, you're supposed to be asking me the question of the children. And then he gets upset, and then back and forth. We begin to go back and forth again. This wasn't going down well. Over time, I started to see this thing about no contact. Do not contact them. That I saw that it was a thing. Oh, there's such a thing as no contact. Okay. And I listened to quite a number of counselors on the matter. And I decided I was going to imbibe that. So I imbibed it. I started to no contact him. So I wouldn't contact him. I decided to go AWOL. Not AWOL in that sense, but let him not hear from me for a bit. They say absence makes the heart fonder. So I said, okay, I would go, I would make myself absent. I wouldn't let him speak to me. I wouldn't let him hear my voice. I would just keep myself away from him for a while. And I started to do that. And time was, time began to pass by, and then the more time passed by, the more I got used to not, hey. And then one day, there were a couple of people who were counseling me at the time, who were speaking to me at the time, who I would go to with certain questions. And they were male ministers. Yeah. So I would talk to them. The reason I preferred to talk to them about certain things was because you people are men. You know how men reason. You would see better what he means, why he's doing what he's doing. Try to give me the male perspective. What do you think he's thinking? Why do you think he would do a thing like this? Why do you think this, that? So I would ask them, I would seek their counsel, and they would give me, their sister counsel. So at a point, one of these pastors spoke to me and said, Didi, when was the last time you spoke to your husband? And I can't remember what I told him, but it was quite, some time had passed. And he said, why is that? I said, because when I talk to him, it causes a fracas, and I don't really want that. So I just want peace. I don't want to bother him. I don't want to bug him. I would hate for him to see me as a bug. I don't want that. So I've decided that I'm not going to contact him. I'm just going to be praying for him and just leave him be. And he said to me, do you know there's such a thing as getting used to, getting used to being apart from someone? Do you know there's such a thing as that? When you want to be close, say you want to be close to your husband, right? You want you to get back together. You want you people to relate, right? I said, yes. So he now says to me, how do you relate with someone? By keeping away from them. Because if you keep away from them, you're already establishing a no relationship. Do you realize that's what you're doing? I said, oh, really? I had not seen it like that. Whether you like it or yes, what you're doing is counterproductive. Is immediately counterproductive to what you want. Because if you want someone, you don't keep away from them. If you keep away from them, you will not have a relationship with them. If you're trying to avoid being taken for granted, that's a different thing altogether. Now, what you can do is contact him, but make it minimal and far between. Make your contact with him minimal and far between. When you contact him, don't be too wordy. Don't say too much. Just choose your words. Say a few things at a time. Say a few words at a time. If you have a particular thing you want to communicate, go straight to the point, communicate it. Make it brief, not too wordy. And then do that, make it far between. In other words, do not come at him every day with stuff, or every week with stuff, or every other week with stuff. You have to find a way to spread it out. Make it brief, graceful, straight to the point, and you're gone. When I heard that, I found it most interesting. And I actually saw what he was saying. Not only with my husband, I saw that the fact that we're keeping apart was actually keeping us apart. Even I was getting used to not having him around. If I who wanted us back together was getting used to that, then how about he who didn't even want us back together? He would totally get used to it. So I knew that this was going to work. I think sometimes it also depends on your own particular experience, on your own particular situation. In my situation, my husband had said that I didn't love him, that I hadn't shown him love. For somebody whose love language was quality time, and he didn't think I'd given him enough quality time. He didn't think I was the one that wife was interested in giving quality time in the first place. And then he steps away. And then you now prove him right by even keeping him far. In other words, anyway, you're really not important anyway. And people will say, men want to chase you. They want to be the ones doing the chase. Men are predators. They are the ones to do the chasing. Women are the prey. You should allow yourself to be chased. You should allow yourself to be wooed. Don't take the place of the man and become the predator. It's put-off-ish. So in other words, don't be the one going after him. It's put-off-ish. That is good counsel. That is sensible counsel. So that means that when you do communicate with him, don't communicate as though a predator. Don't take on that position. Still take on the position of, subservient. Still take on the position of wife, of gracefulness, of sweetness. Yeah, rather than power. Yeah, rather than might. Now, there's a difference between dignity and might. There's a difference between dignity and power. Yes, So you will still be graceful in your communication, but do not take on the position of power. You understand? So what you're trying to do is communicate a certain thing. And also, one way or the other, communicate to him in as little, as brief as possible. That your heart, you're still waiting. You still believe, that you're still trusting God for your restoration. That you still love him. That you're still here for him. Communicate it, in as brief a manner as possible. Don't be too wordy, verbose. Yeah, just be brief and straight to the point. It could just be, I hope you're okay. You do that. And don't communicate again for another 2-3 weeks. And say something brief and, just brief. It's powerful as it's brief. Today, my husband tells me, he doesn't even, because we had to talk about it. Yeah, we had to talk about the past, but he tells other people. He talks to other people. When he's, for instance, counseling other people, he brings up 1 or 2 stories, and then that's when I hear some things. As a matter of fact, I heard him, he did say, not that I'm eavesdropping, I'm not eavesdropping. He says them right in front of me. But we don't talk about it, as in begin to rehash what happened between the two of us. But in the process of counseling people, he tells some of his stories. Yeah, and he did say that there were times during our separation when he just wished I would say something to him. When he just wished I would say something to him. So I learned to communicate far between, straight to the point, precise, communicate my heart. And then another little thing I also learned from a prodigal who came home. He said to me, because I asked him once, I said, what was the one thing that your wife said to you, or your wife did, that got you thinking of coming home? And he said, each time I had reason, I heard from her. Each time I had reason to hear from her, she made me come away with an awe feeling in my heart. So that informed my communication with my husband, that each time I communicate with him, I made sure it was something that would bless him to the point where he'll come away with a warm feeling in his heart, rather than a negative one, and that became the beginning of quite a number of contact events that led to our coming back together, coming back together. So my name is Ndidi Olamide Adekunle, and this is for Marriage Restoration and Reconciliation by Numa. Thanks for listening. God bless.